So this leads to the house cleaning segment of our message. And we'll begin that segment with this from the Bible, from the Gospel of Mark, where it states of Jesus. And Jesus taught, saying unto them, is it not written, my house shall be called of all nations the house of prayer? But ye have made it a den of thieves. Now we can parse this. This is a statement Jesus is saying, well, it's written that my house is a house of prayer, but I'm here and it's a den of thieves. Well, that sheds light on the Messiah and the Christ. Because if it's written it's going to be a house of prayer, but it's a den of thieves, then somebody has to do some work. So this verse pertains to the Messiah. And he is referring to the land in which he and his people were enslaved, the United States. Now, I want to examine a recent article, because it concisely explains the house cleaning of what I called the elephant in the room in a previous message. Let's consider this. The House of Representatives has voted to repeal a 2002 resolution authorizing the U.S. to wage war on Iraq. The law was used by the Trump administration to justify the recent drone killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. The House voted 236 to 166 to kill the 2002 authorization for military force, AUMF, on Iraq, with 11 Republicans joining the Democrats to vote in favor, and 2 Democrats bucking their party to oppose it. The 2002 AUMF was drafted during the presidency of George W. Bush to authorize the 2003 invasion of Iraq, and has been used by subsequent administrations to continue military activity in the country. This is 18 years later, right? Most recently to justify the U.S. drone assassination, again, of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad earlier this month. Rather than as a separate measure, the repeal resolution was offered as an amendment to a law about World War II commemorative coins, already approved by the Senate. The same was done with a resolution to block President Trump from using federal funds for unauthorized military force against Iran, which also cleared the House floor with a vote of 228 to 175. Though both bills passed the Democratic-controlled House on Thursday, January 30th, they will likely be shot down in the Republican-held Senate, which is currently busy hearing the impeachment case against President Trump. They are likely to be vetoed by President Trump if they ever make it to his desk. Now, I'm going to pause there. You want to repeal an authorization that may have been, but it was not. So I'm not going to even say may have been. It was not just, and it was not relevant in 2002 to justify the U.S. invasion of Iraq. Now that same repeal amendment has to go to the president himself, which means he has to give up power. Why? You expect him to sign that? That just shows you it's a dictatorship. Let's continue. President Trump has not threatened military action against Iran in recent weeks, though the bills were written in the aftermath of Soleimani's killing, when Iran responded by striking Iraqi military bases used by U.S. forces with a flurry of ballistic missiles, prompting fears the U.S. president may launch an all-out offensive on the Islamic Republic. Now, the 2002 AUMF is often confused with another, passed in 2001, that granted President Bush the power to wage war without congressional approval against anyone he deems planned, authorized, committed, or aided the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Since its passing, the act has been invoked 41 times by multiple administrations to allow U.S. military action in 19 countries, including Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Somalia, and Yemen. Representative Barbara Lee, California Democrat, the sponsor of Thursday's bill, was the only member of the House to vote against the 2001 AUMF. Though there have been several attempts at repeal over the years, including one led by Lee in 2019, it remains in place. Well, I reiterate the warning of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan that the gross injustice of the United States through its office of the presidency, who has leashed the U.S. military, will bring the United States to complete ruin and humiliation and plunge the U.S. citizenry into the worst social and economic catastrophe ever. The U.S. citizenry, the U.S. public, should consider these words from Almighty God to you, recorded in the Bible concerning your political leadership. He states, "His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough. And they are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, every one for his gain from his quarter." Now, I challenge anyone to prove that this prophecy is not being fulfilled today. You can't do it. Every moment you turn on your TV, this is what's being fulfilled. Now, since it is the American people's sons and daughters in the military who have been and will continue to be victims of a United States Congress and a presidency inundated with self-serving, selfish, inept, and spiritually blind representatives, then why should not the AUMFs, along with other unconstitutional laws, be consolidated and put before the American public in the form of a legally binding referendum that cannot be vetoed by Congress or the president? In other words, what do the people have to say about these bills or these laws? Well, what is a referendum? It is the principle or practice of referring measures proposed or passed by a legislative body, head of state, to the vote of the electorate for approval or rejection.